You are alone. No music, no podcast, no scroll, just you, sitting with the quiet. And within moments, something uncomfortable begins to rise. A thought you did not choose, a feeling you did not send for, a memory that has no business showing up right now. And almost instantly, your hand moves toward your phone. You do not even notice you did it. That reflex, that automatic reach, that near physical inability to stay alone with your own mind for more than a few seconds. You probably think of it as a habit, a distraction, a minor modern quirk. But what if it is something far older and far more revealing than that? What if the reason you cannot sit with your own thoughts is not a weakness at all, but one of the most deeply wired survival mechanisms your species ever developed? The real answer is far stranger than you think. Your brain did not evolve to be comfortable with silence. It evolved to survive. And for most of human history, survival meant one thing above everything else: vigilance. The moment you stopped scanning for threats was the moment something killed you. Stillness was not peace. Stillness was vulnerability. The quiet was where the predators lived. Neuroscientist Marcus Reichel at Washington University discovered something that changed the way scientists understand the brain at rest. When participants in his studies were given nothing to do, no task, no stimulus, no problem to solve, the brain did not power down. It shifted into a highly active state he eventually called the default mode network. And what does the default mode network do? It ruminates. It replays. It anticipates threats. It runs social simulations, imagining what others think of you, rehearsing conflicts, scanning for rejection. It is, in the most literal neurological sense, a threat detection system running on idle. When you sit alone with your thoughts, you are not resting. You are being processed. And what the brain finds when it processes you is not always comfortable. Psychologist Matthew Killingsworth at Harvard University spent years tracking the moment-to-moment happiness of thousands of people using a simple phone app that pinged them at random intervals and asked what they were doing and how they felt. His findings were striking. People were significantly less happy when their minds were wandering than when they were focused on what they were actually doing, even when they were doing something unpleasant, even when the task was boring. A focused mind on a dull task reported higher well-being than a wandering mind on no task at all. The wandering mind, it turns out, is not a peaceful place to live. Think about why that would be true from an evolutionary standpoint. Your ancestors who sat quietly and felt content in the silence were not the ones who survived. The ones who survived were the ones whose idle minds immediately began running worst-case scenarios. What if the rustling in the grass is not the wind? What if the other tribe moves on our water source? What if the person who gave me that look yesterday is planning something? That anxious, restless, threat-scanning, idle mind was not a flaw. It was a feature. It kept your ancestors alive long enough to become your ancestors. You inherited their brains. Not the brains of the ones who sat still and felt peaceful. But here's the problem. You no longer live in that world. The rustling in the grass is not a predator. The person who gave you that look is probably not planning anything. The threats your default mode network is scanning for are largely imaginary, or at the very least, not immediately life-threatening. And yet the system runs anyway. Because evolution does not update on a human timescale. The hardware in your skull was built for a savanna. You are running it in a world of offices and notifications and social media and traffic and mortgages. The mismatch is enormous. And into that mismatch stepped the modern attention economy. Every app, every platform, every autoplay video exists for one precise reason: to intercept your default mode network before it can fully activate. To give your threat-scanning, ruminating, restless, idle mind something external to lock onto so it never has to turn inward. The relief you feel when you pick up your phone is real. It is neurologically genuine. You are genuinely escaping something uncomfortable. But what you are escaping is not the problem. The escape itself is. Psychologist Ethan Kross at the University of Michigan has spent years studying what he calls chatter, the inner voice that dominates your mind when you are left alone with it. His research found that unstructured solitude, time alone with no task and no direction, tends to amplify negative self-referential thinking. The inner voice does not